The chairperson of the African Union's Joint Monitoring and Evaluation and former Botswana President Festus Mogae says the humanitarian situation in South Sudan has reached crisis levels following fresh clashes in the country last week. In an exclusive interview with the SABC, Mogae said a joint summit on South Sudan on Saturday agreed to set up a commission of inquiry into the latest violence with the aim of holding to account those who will be found responsible for the conflict, which left more than 270 people dead. Mogae says the region will send in more troops to boost the capacity of the more than 12,000 troops currently in the country. The troops' mandate will also be enhanced to make it possible for them to deal with any outbreak of violence.
The situation is very bad because there was a substantial violence and destruction of property. All missions have withdrawn their people. There is no food in the town, even in hotels. So that's how bad the situation is. Obviously, there were a number of casualties, both military and civilian. That is why the summit head of state yesterday, one of the things they decided was that they are going to set up a commission to determine what were the causes and sequence of events that led to the fighting, who was to blame and how many people suffered, and so on.
When you spoke to the two leaders, Dr. Machar and Mr. Kiel, did you feel a sense of a people who are committed to peace?
Well, not really. I have been complaining that there is insufficient commitment to the peace. Certainly on the part of the soldiers, you can see they are always itching to teach other a lesson. So they would find any excuse to fight. That is why the heads of state have decided that the mandate of the UN troops already in Juba should be amended to enable them to be more proactive.
You're talking about a combat force?
Yes. Not necessarily, but less passive. Be able to be more active in protecting civilians. Yes, but certainly the region is willing to contribute forces that could interpose themselves between the rival armies.
So
yes.
About how many troops are you thinking about?
No, I don't know. They say about a brigade. A brigade.
Oh, there was also the issue of targeted sanctions. The UN is one of the ones that is really pushing for sanctions, especially against the generals or these two leaders. If this,
as you know, there was a commission of inquiry by the AU itself, which detailed violations of human rights and other offenses, and in fact indicated that some people could be held accountable. That report was issued and it's yet to be implemented. The idea was to have let the situation settle. So yes, among the provisions of the agreement was the establishment or the creation of a hybrid court for South Sudan to hold accountable those who will be found to have committed human rights and other violations. But we haven't yet to come to that. But it's part of the existing agreement that is to be implemented.
But clearly it should be a matter of urgency, looking at, because there should be a deterrent. So what do you think? Something that makes these leaders see they will be held accountable if they continue with the violence?
Yes, well, the existing arrangement, the existence of this provision for a hybrid court of South Sudan itself should have been a deterrent, but it hasn't proved to be. And that is why now the mandate of the 12,000 or forces, international forces, UN forces in South Sudan is being amended to make them more proactive, and also the creation of a new brigade from the regional countries to go there to intervene between the forces.
Would an arms embargo work, do you think?
I think it has been recommended. It's likely to be adopted. In fact, I think the UN is very much more for it. I think that will be done.
But President
it will have no, well, I think if the majority of Africans here, the IGAD, plus the 5 regional leaders, South Africa, Nigeria, Rwanda, Algeria, Chad, agree, then there's likely to happen. But that's only more symbolic, because the South Sudanese they used all their money they didn't develop the country, they just bought weapons and weapons. So the impact is in the long term, not in the short term.
And finally, have any of you been able to contact Dr. Machar? Have you been in contact?
We have been in constant contact with both leaders by telephone. But 3 days ago, President Connery and I were able to charter a small plane and fly to Juba, where we were able to meet the president, who gave his version of the events and what happened. And we were also able to, and we asked him what is the way forward. He expressed a willingness to discuss with the first vice president. We're not able to meet the first vice president, but we spoke to him on the telephone, but not as long as we had with the president. He, of course, also expressed a willingness to talk with the president, provided his safety is guaranteed. We were also able to meet with the opposition ministers who were in a hotel that were gathered. They gave their version of the story. But of course, as can be expected, it will be accusations and counter-accusations. And that is why the summit last night made a decision to create a commission of inquiry to investigate the events and hold those directly responsible accountable.
But where is Machar?
He said to be somewhere in the country. He's in hiding because he fled, he escaped. The 300, it is alleged that he had gone to the State House. His bodyguards were 300. None of them survived, those 300. And a great many others of his men were killed before the civilians were killed, and also even the UN was attacked. And so it's going to be some time.
Let's move further afield now, and we start in the United States, where 3